Kia ora koutou katoa to the NBR whānau, and welcome to this week's edition of Te Ohanga Māori column, looking at the Māori economy. Joining me now is columnist Holly Bennett, who this week has written about the need for government to keep its advice to itself in terms of telling entrepreneurs how to run their small and medium-sized businesses. Kia ora, Holly.
Kia ora.
So, what don't you appreciate about the government sort of telling you how to run your business?
I think the fundamental premise of today's column is about the fact that many people proffering advice around the public sector have never once run their own business, and the realities of running a business are sometimes very different from what people perceive. And so it's just a cautionary tale of taking a deep breath and sometimes thinking twice about giving us advice.
Sure. You mentioned in the column that you have a relatively little amount of revenue comes from public sector sources. Is that a conscious decision or just how it's worked out?
I think it'd be foolish to say that was a conscious decision, because at the outset, one of the best ways as a lobbyist to cut your teeth is with private sector clients. But as sort of our offerings have evolved, moving into that space across working in public sector has been something that we've been able to expand into. But what I would say is that when the challenges exist, as far as they do, with reporting requirements that I have experienced just in my past year of servicing public sector contracts, they're not something that encourages me to want to do more.
Yeah, you mentioned those reporting requirements as being quite onerous and potentially being, I suppose, a barrier for smaller businesses as opposed to the bigger end of town.
Absolutely. As I commented, one parliamentarian even said to me, they are designed for the big end of town, not where you're sitting. And that to me is something that flies in the face of all of the ministerial statements about making procurement better. And what I would say is if there is a desire to improve procurement, then the reporting processes need to be improved as well, because it's really unnecessary to have a director like myself doing the back-end public sector reporting.
Yeah, you've worked in ministerial offices at the other side of this. So how did you use the information that was being provided?
I mean, when I looked at the reasons for them asking us for this information, the main draw card was the fact that it's for ministerial reporting. And I can tell you this right now, I was never in the granular of the reporting. I was only ever looking for risk. And risk from the perspective of what do I need to do as a political advisor to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And so to say that to me, I know, it's got some credibility, but ministers on the whole are not going to be looking at that detail.
I suppose you've got to have it there, though, in case someone needs to cover their ass.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I understand that. And I'm the first person as a fiscal conservative to say government should know exactly where every dollar is being spent. I have no problem with that. But that's the onerous reporting, especially on small businesses. That's the thing that I really, really have some, I wouldn't say concern, but I just do have some interest in, especially as somebody who is being asked more and more to do government work.
And in terms of small business policy, you're saying government should just focus on that, putting out some solid policy. Have we seen much recently?
No. So when writing the column, that was one thing that I did do, was have a look and see when was the last time they did an announcement. So there was the online invoicing announcement, which I think was mid-September. And prior to that, we haven't seen anything. The most recent announcement previous to that was 30,000 businesses partaking in Digital Boost. And for a part of the economy which is so important, and we do want to keep growing, to have no substantive policy coming down the pipeline, I think is a little bit concerning.
What other advice would you give to government in this area?
I mean, the sum total of my advice in this column is sometimes the best advice that you can give is no advice at all.
Excellent. That's the final word from Holly. Thanks very much, Holly. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Kia ora.